Hi, everyone. I'm happy that so many of you were able to participate directly. I understand that Brooke will leave us at 1:30 because she has another meeting, but no problem. We will record this through Zoom and I will post it on Blackboard for you later to react on Blackboard. So let me introduce the speaker. And again, I thank Mr. Odedele for the time he's, um, giving us to discuss about the realities of public relations in the country where he lives. So Mr. Sunday Odedele is a public relations professional in Nigeria, having served as the executive director of the non-governmental organization PR for Africa. He was a keynote speaker at the first World Public Relations Festival in Rome 2003 and at several annual conferences of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. He is a co-author of the Evolution of Public Relations, Case Studies of Countries in Transition, published by the Institute for Public Relations in the USA, and of Public Relations and Communication Management in Africa. So again, thank you very much for your time. I understand that now it's 8 o'clock in Nigeria. How are you today?
I'm very, very fine. Now you go ahead.
Okay. Let me go on with first, because I'm the privileged professor, I will start with my questions. What are, to your understanding, some key characteristics of public relations in Africa that you have noted in the course of your professional life?
Some key characteristics of public relations in Africa that I've noted in the course of my professional life are public relation is woman-centric. Public relations is all about human being. And when the public relation program is planned, it should be tailored toward the good of human being. So public relations is human-centric. Public relation is goal-oriented. Any public relation program, at the beginning, goals and objectives should be set of what the organization wants to achieve. And that is very, very essential, so that the program will not just be in vain. So population must be goal-oriented. Then there should be clarity of message. There should be no ambiguity. The message should be clear. It should be simple. And the students, I believe, are listening to me. We happen to have work in Africa. And one thing you should know that when you are giving message to the target audience, it should be clear. If you are speaking English, the English be simple, let it be clear, let it be understandable. And if where they don't really understand English, let it be spoken to them in a clear way in their local language. So clarity of message.
By the way, I think for you, it's very relevant when we talk about the local language, because I understand in Nigeria, there's about 200 dialects.
Of course, you are correct. We have many local languages in Nigeria, but there are major 3 languages. You have the Yoruba language, spoken in the southwest. We have the Hausa language, spoken in the north. And we have the Igbo language, spoken in the southwest. We have other languages. We have Edo, we have Efik, we have Idoma, many languages. But those are the core major languages. And as a public relations practitioner who also work in Nigeria, you should be interested in those languages so that your target audience, you may be able to really reach out to them and get results. So clarity of message. Then public relation, and yes, I'm with you. Any question?
No, I was
wondering. Then public relations should, I'm with you.
Yeah, I think there is a delay. I apologize for this.
Public relation must be informative. Okay, so public relation
is informative. It's all about information, and that information should be given in an understandable way. Public relation is educative. It's giving education out. It's explaining, teaching people some things to do, how to be done, why it should be done, and the results. So public relation is educative. Public relation is influencing. Influence. You, as a public relation practitioner, you have a goal, you have what you want to do with the program, and therefore you should the program should influence the audience to do what you want them to do. Then public relations should be era friendly. It should go with the trends of time. It should move with trends. It should not be obsolete. It should be things that is relevant to the age. So public relations should be era friendly. Public relations should be environmental friendly. Whatever you are doing, the organization is not existing in a vacuum. It's existing in a place at a particular time, at a particular place, at a particular time. So with that in mind, you should make sure that you are friendly with the community of your existence. So public relations should be environmental friendly. Public relations should be ethical. The issue of ethics is so great. As it is in the US over there, where we know it's the cradle of the modern PR practice that the whole world is embracing. Likewise, everywhere in the world, ethics is not what we can. What close the political down, that big PR firm of Britain, it was an ethics issue. So ethics is not what we should play with, it must be ethical. Public relations should be transformational. What I'm simply saying that at the end of the program, it should be behavioral changes in the target audience. What the program should effect changes in the way they behave as what you are selling to them. Then public relation should be time frame. Is it short term? Is it on a short term? Is it on a long term? How do you want? Is it for a year, for 6 months, for 2 years? Whatsoever, it should be time frame. Then public relation, very important, should be measurable. Evaluative measures should be put on ground. Standards should be put on ground. Whatsoever you have public relation, you want to know how far have we gone? Have we succeeded? Is the program a success? Could it be what? Can people say that this program is a real success? There should be an evaluative standard that should have been established at the beginning of the public relation program. So this should be incorporated in and to make sure the public relation program is evaluative. So that's my observation as characteristics of public relation as I've been in the course of operation for about 30 years now, almost since 1987 precisely. I've been in the practice of public relations. So thank you, Dr. Sorin. Have I answered the question?
Well, it's not a question of a right or wrong answer. It's about, sharing with us your experiences. And correct me if I'm wrong. It seems to me from what you're saying that you hold up the models that you learned from the United States of how you do public relations. And by the way, I wanted to check with you, what are the realities in Nigeria? Are public relations professionals actually coming from the other job of being a journalist most of the times?
Thank you very much. This show of public relations in Nigeria, in the recent started from the journalists. The first set of public relations practitioners were journalists.
Yes, because you are mentioning all these requirements, all these qualifications, be ethical, work for a goal, be transformational, and so on and so forth. And those look like precepts that are also valid for a journalist?
Thank you very much. As I said, public relation is an offspring of journalism. The first generation of public relation practitioners in Nigeria were journalists. Who we call the father of public relations in Nigeria, late Dr. Sam Epele, was working in the Federal Ministry of Information then. He was the one who established Nigeria Institute of Public Relations, a journalist. But with the current trends, as it is in the US also, we have universities running public relation courses at degree level. Like the University of Nigeria and Nsukka runs public relation course at master level and at PhD level. And other universities, we have them run also degree course in public relations. So public relations is not only limited now to journalists, full practitioners are coming in as who are trained in public relations as also members of public relations. And that's why the issue of Nigeria Institute of Public Relations comes in. Nigeria Institute of Public Relations runs professional exam, both at certificate and diploma level. So make sure people are well trained in the art of public relations and they are certificated. Have I answered the question?
Yeah, again, it's not a problem of right or wrong answer. It's just that I'm really interested in you sharing with us, and I see that my cat is becoming restless again. We have in the United States nowadays, we have co-workers. I wanted to ask you something else. You were mentioning earlier that for you, public relations, one of the precepts for public relations is to be influential, to convince the people of the message that you're trying to transmit to the target audiences. So that sounds, you know, if you come to talk about the models of communication by Grunig and Hunt, for example, you know, the one-way communication being the basic one. You know, old type of public relations, public be damned. We have a message that we build and the consumers should just consume the message, should not question it, because we are the practitioners that are very well versed in these things. But the more evolved public relations are talking about the process of feedback in the process of communication, and they are more invitational. We build a message, we make it more visual, more with bells and whistles, and the people will decide if they want to consume the message. And we back this up with the quality of the products or services that we're trying to sell or to promote. So what do you say, what are the realities in Nigeria nowadays? Is it still on the old type of communication, one-way communication, or it's two-way, asking for the feedback from the consumers?
Thank you very much. Just as you said, the one-way communication is old, but this is the age of two-way communications. As James Gronitt said, there should be feedback. The influence comes, what shows the influence is the response of the audience to the message, to show that the message has been accepted and is feeding you back, is showing what is or reaction is. So it's not the old way of the one-way communication, either publicity or giving a propaganda, but it's a message that will be clear, and the audience, the consumer, will be able to take decision and move along with you. Have I answered the question?
Right.
So that is what it is in Nigeria as over there in the US.
Yes, yes. Then let me move on to the next question. How are characteristics of public relations impacted by culture, societal trends, politics? And when I say culture, especially in a country like Nigeria, where there's 200 million people and 200 dialects, I guess there's rich culture, but somebody who wants to promote a message that is uniform, maybe has to translate the message in different languages, has to adapt to cultural expectations. What do you say about that?
Thank you very much. Culture is very important in public relations. Culture is diverse and complex. An acceptable norm in one society may be a taboo in another society. Therefore, to avoid cultural shock, which may affect our public relations activities negatively, such as emotional anxiety, disorientation from our being able to work, discomfort of not doing the right thing, inferiority or incompetence complex. This can be overcome by showing, number one, empathy, interest in the culture of the people. Never mind, maybe you get to a place, the way we eat in the Western world is not the way they eat. You should not sound strange. How will you just, we use with cutlery? You are using that to eat. What's the difference? Doesn't this look strange? You should be able to see how to show, understand, interest in what they are doing. Show interest in the culture. But once the people see you showing interest, they also will be happy to receive you. So empathy. Then there should be observation skill. Ability to observe the culture, study the culture. I believe in studying this culture, you see some good things you can learn from there and use to achieve your goal. So observation skill is very important. Also, asking questions. There's nothing wrong. Ask questions. Why are you doing this? Why is this being done? Can't this be done this way? So you should ask questions. Ask questions from them. So by asking questions, you will know the rationale behind what they are doing. Then you will now be able to really see how to adapt that and use it for what you want to do. So also, you should have transactional exploration. No harm in trial. Look at what they are doing. If it is what you can try, give it a try. There's no harm in it. They won't be happy. Say, for instance, as a white man, you come to, let's say, Yoruba land, you see them wearing what they call agbada, buba, and shukududas, the top, and the trouser. And like what I put on as coat now, or suit, and then with their cap. When they see you as white man doing that, or white, I mean, they are so happy. Oh, he identifies with us. So what am I saying? That transformational exploration, no harm in trial. Then be flexible. A PR man or woman should be flexible. Be flexible. Don't be rigid. Anywhere you go to come to in Nigeria, in Africa, in Nigeria, anywhere, be flexible. Don't be rigid. By your flexibility, you can be able now to carry out your message and get result. Then also, for effectiveness, use local PR practitioner as an interface with the local culture. Where you don't understand the culture and it seems the things look so cloudy for you, check around, get public relations practitioners from that country who understand the culture very well. Bring them in. You may have to pay them. Remember in PR, we have an in-house PR practitioner and we have the PR agency. So you can bring the PR agency in to come in and do the work so that the culture will not be a problem, so that we will not do something that they will not like. Also, you can use local media. Use them to say it in their local languages. They will understand. Say it in a way. Do the writing in English. Give it to them. So, giving them in English, they will translate to their local language and they will beam out the message just as you said. Remember, it's all over. Pardon me. I mean, let me just use this. So, for instance, the religious book. Let me pick Bible for example. Bible is written in English, but the English version is the same with the Yoruba version, the way they put it. So what I'm saying, just that same confidence should be in the local practitioner, that they will be able to translate your message to their local language and pass the message as you want it to be passed, and also get feedback for you so that you can know what your target audience really want. So these are essential in culture. Culture is very important in Africa. An average African does not play with his or her culture. So any African country you will get to operate, study their culture very well. When you study their culture, you'll be able to adapt and you'll be able to get your goal achieved. Have I answered the question?
Can you, if these are the principles followed by the PR practitioners in Nigeria, could you give us an example of a successful campaign that you know of, a recent one? And why was it successful?
Thank you very much. There are many campaigns. Like the one I just have at hand, which I want to share, is the current COVID-19. At the advent, when the thing came to Nigeria, should be in January and February, and the federal government took it up, went to the media, used the media, electronic media, print media, social media, telephone, in English, and the local languages to reach out to the masses. And when that one was done, speaking the language the people understand, looking at their culture, telling them the effects of COVID-19, what it could do to the nation, the harm, and the precautions that should be taken not to contact the disease. By May, the Nation newspaper reported in a survey carried out on the audience. The particular survey says that 99% of the audience, as at that time, were aware of the reality of COVID-19. So I will say that is one of the reasons why the COVID-19 has not been so much affecting the nation, because of the kind of population program put on ground at the inception, at the advent of COVID-19. So that's up to even till now, like today, I still receive a message on my phone to tell me, if you have any case of COVID-19, please quickly report. They do that in English, they do that in Yoruba, they do that in Hausa, they do that in Igbo, they do that in other languages in various local government and states to make sure the message is made known to people. So, as I said, culture is very, very important. Let me now move. Then, for instance, you move to the northern part of the nation, where we have predominantly Muslim. One of the things, that Muslims do not like pigs. And you are there, maybe as a person you like pig. You don't like eating pig. Maybe you want to, you don't use anything pig for them. You take caution of that, because they could react. What do you mean? This is an abomination to us. Why is bringing pig? We don't like it. So culture is very sensitive. And as a prayer practitioner, anywhere in Africa, study their culture, know what they want, know what they don't want, and you'll be able to flow. Remember, culture and language are interwoven. And so, as we're talking of culture, talk of their language, and so that you can marry the two and get results. Have I answered the question?
Sure. the campaign that you were mentioning to promote awareness of the COVID-19 spreading and characteristics and how the population should protect themselves against this, was it sponsored by the government?
It's sponsored by the government, federal government, sponsored by international organizations such as World Health Organization, UNICEF, and other international organizations like that. So there are a lot has been done on all this media to make sure that the masses, the audience, were reached out. So the federal government, the state government, the local government, World Health Organization, UNICEF, and other international organizations are involved, even United Nations, to make sure these messages are promoted, that the masses are not affected by COVID-19.
Did they involve also some non-profit organizations?
Yes, some non-profit organizations are involved. Like, not as I mentioned, UNICEF is involved. Some non-profit organizations, even which are local, are also involved. There's one that specializes on women in the rural area, which also took the message of COVID-19 to the rural area, the interior area, not just the urban area, to make sure that women are not affected by COVID-19. So, some non-government organizations also were involved.
I wanted to ask you this.
I'm with you.
I've seen that in many Asian countries, for example, in Thailand and such, even if a campaign like this was sponsored by the government, actually the creatives of the public relations firms were able to convince more effectively the masses if they did a song or a jingle, how to wash your hands while we're singing and stuff like that. Did they involve something like that in Nigeria?
Of course. It's not only the federal government. The public relation practitioners also are involved in the jingles, in other things like that, to make sure the thing is professionally done and to get results. It's done. The jingles and other, there's even acting play, other things like that, to illustrate to the people the danger of COVID-19, caution to be taken, and solution to COVID-19. So it's done like that also in Nigeria and other African nations.
I wanted to ask you my last question here. How would you describe the use in Nigeria and or broader African context of PR for specific cultural groups, nation branding, etc.? So I know that usually federal governments are interested in being more kind of the supervisor for all the ethnic groups that are under their responsibilities. But how do, for example, the native speakers of Yoruba versus native speakers of something else are promoting their region in specific ways? Or maybe Nigeria as a country, how is Nigeria promoting its country brand?
Thank you very much. In the questions, I will come back to that. I've not answered the question on societal trends.
Sure.
And also politics.
Sure.
So that let me come back before coming back to your question.
Yes.
So societal trends, the impact of trends of the society could either be negative or positive on public relation and strategic communication campaign. Therefore, PR professionals should first study the trends. That is what is called public relation audit, to know how to use the positive trends to achieve their goals and objectives, and also handle the negative trends wisely, not to hinder their public relation and strategic communication programs. So in terms of societal trends will continue always, and public relation practitioner should be wise to handle trends. If it is negative, you should know how to react to turn it to advantage for public relation program. If it is positive, he or she also should know how to handle it. Take for example the era of social media have been of great use to the public relation. Can make use in Nigeria. People have access to social media, and that is a big advantage that a PR practitioner can make use of. So it's very, very important that the societal trend, PR practitioners to study that and then see how to really offer, use that to get results. If it is negative trend, you should see how to really also study that, come in and use it to achieve the public relation objective or the corporate objective. Then I move to politics. Very, very important, because coming to another country, there are things public relation practitioners should bear in mind. Political trends can affect PR activity or organizations negatively if not properly handled. Take note of the ruling party in all the levels of the government in your country of operation, and maintain good relationship with them all, especially if their parties are different. I explain. Take for instance, like in Nigeria, we have 3 tiers of government. We have the local government, we have the state government, and we have the federal government. It may be possible that at the local government where the organization is operating, the ruling party there is different. At the state government, the ruling party there may be also different. At the federal government, the ruling party different. As a public relation practitioner, you know how to manage those 3 levels of government and get results. Very important. That is why there should be good public affairs policies maintained by the organization, which the public relation practitioner should be able to manage and get results, to make sure there's no legislation that will affect the operation of the organization in that country. So the issue of politics is very essential. And I will also say on the issue of politics, that also that public relation practitioner should not be too far to the embassy of his country in that country of operation. They will also be of help. Maybe there's any question, anything it doesn't, maybe a little misunderstanding with the government, he can also get them involved, which they also can come in to really help in that effort. So good public affairs policy should be maintained by the organization, which should be championed by the PR practitioner. So that's on societal trends and politics. Have I answered before I move to the next question?
Let's move.
If you have any other question on that, I'm ready to answer.
I think that's enough.
Okay, thank you. So I move to the last, the 3rd question. That how will you describe the use in Nigeria or broader African context of public relation for specific cultural groups, nation branding? Thank you. And Nigeria, as I said, we have different culture. We have the Yorubas, we have the Igbos, we have the Hausa as major tribe, where we have other tribes. And in Nigeria, that's why any important program like that, when the official language is spoken in English, it will be translated into all those local dialects to make sure the masses really understand. And remember, I mean, Nigeria flag is green, white, green. At times, when we are doing things, you can see maybe Nigerian footballers, you can see them putting green, white. That's promoting Nigeria brand. And maybe there could be some occasions. You see some people, I mean, they could be a kind of a display. You see some may be in white, some may be in green, some may be in white, just to show Nigerian color. So that is one of the ways of promoting the Nigerian brand. We promote the language, promote the culture of the people. That's why in some occasions like that in the nation, native attires are allowed to be worn to show what Nigeria, I mean, the Nigerian brand. The North have their way of dressing, the South have their way of dressing, and the West have their way of dressing, the East have their way of dressing. So in many national occasions, people dress like that to show their brand where they are. So the issue of branding in Nigeria is very, very important. We don't play with our culture. We make sure anywhere we are, we promote what Nigeria is all about and what we have as a nation. So have I answered the question?
Yes, yes. I was wondering, I know that different, for example, Eastern European countries are trying to promote their countries through, National Geographic spots, for example, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes. They're very expensive spots, but then there's this difficulty of, filtering everything down to what is essential. Have you seen such cases for Nigeria to promote it, for example, for international tourism? Does a program like that exist?
Of course, there are programs on tourism. Tourism is developing in Nigeria, not as it is in the US. There are many places that can be of tourist attraction in different parts of the country, be it in the southwest, Yoruba, like Yoruba, they will say that the Yoruba originated from where they call Ile-Ife, and we have a lot of artifacts, that's why you have a lot of architecture, some art that shows Nigerian culture. You have different places, I mean, like in Abeokuta, where Professor Wole Soyinka is from. You have what we call Oluma Rock. Those are places of tourist attraction. We have Zuma Rock in Abuja. We have different places, like even Nigeria. The first place the Christian missionary came in Badagry is there. It's also a tourist attraction. And where they stopped the slave trade is also there in Badagry in Lagos. So many places we have like that for tourist attraction. Like in Ekiti, you have a place there where you have hot, warm, and cold water coming out at the same time in a place. That's the Kogusi in Ekiti in the southwest. So many places of tourist attraction we have in Nigeria. Jankari game is there in the north, Obudo Ranch in the south, and many other places that are tourist attraction that they are there in Nigeria. And the federal government is doing much in promoting tourism in Nigeria presently. Have I answered the question?
Yes. One last question was for me. I hear that in different countries there's kind of a custom for a journalist, especially for the journalists, but also for public relations professionals, if they are to promote somebody, especially if they are from the government or a corporate entity, there is kind of an understood, some kind of gift for the journalist Do you still have that kind of practice in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. I've been expecting such question. You remember my first time when I was in Rome in 2003? That was the question Professor, I can't remember it very well now. Asked me that the brown envelope, as he called it. Yeah, as it said, no, I talk of the issue of ethics. Public relation practitioner should be ethical. And the issue of brown envelope should not come in. That's the language. Brown envelope should not come in. But that comes in the issue of having good media relation program. If your organization has good media relation program, and there's one organizational media relation program, and there's another personal media relation program by the public relation practitioner. As the organization maintains good media relation program, you as public relation practitioner also should maintain personal media relation program. If you are so close to the media, you are used to them, you call them, you host them, you are doing some things, you invite them, you honor them. Anytime you need their attention, they will attend to you. I can tell you experience I have at time. Let me now say, remember, Africa is not like the US. It may be possible. Maybe the journalist is coming from far. Maybe the organization he works for, they are not providing things for him. That's nothing wrong. Maybe buying fuel in the car to bring the person, to make sure that it's there. So if there is need for that, there's nothing wrong doing that. But giving bribe to come and do, no. But if there is good relationship, the journalists will come. I'm telling you experience at time. I need journalists, I call them, they come, we work together, and anything I want to give them, I give them on my own.
Mm-hmm.
As a private practitioner. So right. What I'm saying is that the issue of bribe is uncalled for. The public relation practitioner, you should be able to work without that. It should be ethical. Right. Remember the case of Portinga in South Africa. That was what led to the closure of Portinga. So in South Africa, we should not be. We should be ethical in whatsoever.
Right. Right.
So have I answered the question?
Yes, yes. I wanted to ask you also, what is the preferred medium for PR practitioners that is more effective because people consume it more often? Is it still television or print media or social media or a combination of all?
I would say a combination of all. I will explain myself. Take the TV media. Well, the history says the first television in Africa was in Nigeria. That is Nigeria Television in Ibadan in 1959. Since then, we have different television stations in the nation. And television, because of the power of visual and audio, very, very powerful. It's still effective. But no, there are some urban areas, some rural areas where they may not really be having television in the interior villages. Where maybe they are working in the farm, so they have radio. You can listen to radio. So radio also is important. The print media, also is very, very important, and the social media. So the combination, and let me also say the telephone, the network provider, reaching out through them also, because people go about with the telephone, you can give the message. As far as they're having that telephone, receive the message. So television, radio, print media, social media, and even telephone, combine them, use to achieve your communication plan or program. So their combination is better.
Right, right. Okay, thank you very much. Let's switch to the student questions because you know they stayed and they're present here. Um, did you follow the questions that I sent you and prepared something so I should take them in order, or should I just jump here and there?
What I just prepared with I prepared something, but if you the student questions, let me have the question, then I'll just so that I can summarize what I have. What are the questions of the student? Can I have them?
Shuiting Bai is from China. You see her here. She's one of our graduate students. She's from China. And she was asking, can you talk about the most significant change in the development of public relations, I guess, especially for Nigeria?
Thank you very much. As I said, public relation has changed a lot in Nigeria. It has changed Nigeria itself. Looking from the time of Sam Ekpele, that was the founder of Nigeria Institute of Public Relations. Down to this time, a lot of changes. I can talk of COVID-19. NIPR is Nigerian Institute of Public Relations is a very big body. And even one of the biggest in Africa. And we have Nigerian Public Relations have produced many of the African Public Relations Association president, like the current president of APRA, that's Jami Okubadejo, is a Nigerian, and a lot of public relations practitioners. You have like a one-time ministers of information who is late now, Akinyele. Alex Akinyele happened to be a public relations practitioner, even president of NIPR. So public relations are really changing Nigeria, and a lot of things have been done to the perception of the government, reaction to the masses, the issue of feedback, not one-way traffic, not propaganda, taking all, as we are in democratic regime now, the voice of the people matters, and a form of feedback from whatsoever the government is saying. Government wants feedback, so to work on the feedback, and so that to be able to make program that will be useful to the masses. So population has grown both in the public sector and in the private sector, and even in the agency sector. So even in the school, the population, we have even some organization where we have PR man as the head of the organization, or like the deputy head. We have many of them, like Professor Patituni is the population man who is the founder of Pan-African University. And I mean, many population practitioners have really made it in Nigeria, and the profession is really growing and is doing well in Nigeria.
Do you
have
have,
asked a question?
do you have in Nigeria some statistics about, you know, on average, how many people work in the field of public relations?
I think as at last time I have about 3,000 public relation practitioners. 3,000 public relation practitioners. We have about 3,000 public relation practitioners working in Nigeria.
And you see, when Shueting is asking about the most significant change, it sends me to my personal experience in Eastern Europe. You know, after the fall of communism, there was this kind of synthesizing process that there were companies that were popping up like mushrooms. And then, you know, in the first 10 years after the fall of communism, only the ones that were more serious survived, and others actually were taken over by international agencies. You know, like I don't know, Edelman or Ogilvy and Matter, companies like that that have an international reach, and they may be based in the United States or in Western Europe. Do you have this kind of phenomenon in Nigeria? Are there public?
As at now, that Edelman is not in Nigeria.
But others in
Calcom is not in Nigeria. As at now, most of the PR agency we have, they are local agency. They are not in Nigeria. So, and I believe if they can come in, it will really help, because you know that most of those American companies in Nigeria, they'll be happy seeing them, and they can get jobs from them. So most of the international public relation agency are not in Nigeria. Edelman is not in Nigeria, Calcom is not in Nigeria, Ogilvy is not in Nigeria. Now I think Fletcher, what do we call the firm, says he has an affiliate in Nigeria. With my last research, says he has an affiliate. I think talked to him about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So as an affiliate, the rest, they are not existing in Nigeria. And Nigeria is a great market that I think they should be interested in, as they are in other parts of the world.
Okay. Let me move on to, because he's here, maybe a question from Nick Schulte. Nick, did you want to ask your own question, or should I read it because I have it printed? I can read it. Okay. He says, what are some of the biggest obstacles you see public relation professionals facing in the near future?
Yes, those obstacles that we may face, we have done with them in some of the characteristics. Number one, the public relation should make sure he or she is computer literate. Very, very important. Inability to make use of computer will affect the public relation practitioners. We are in the era of computer. So like my talking to you now.
So computer literacy, right?
Very, very important. Then the issue of ethics, not being ethical, will be a great obstacle to the practice. So anywhere, you should make sure you follow ethics. Then regulations. Some PR organizations in the nations that are growing with experience with Portugal are talking of stricter regulations. So, but those regulations will still be in line with ethics. Therefore, we don't need to panic. So, what is just there that we just need to really prepare. Then also technology. We are in the era of AI, artificial intelligence, and as it's moving from US, moving that like that, it will also come to Africa. And PR practitioner should be technological oriented to make sure that technology PR, the PR practitioner should be interested in it, so that when it comes to that level, it will not be hindrance, obstacle to him or her. Then also the issue of media. PR practitioners should know how to maintain good media relation. Very, very, very important. Very important. If he or she will succeed, he must maintain good media relation. So that will not be an obstacle to him or her. He should make sure he maintain good media relation. The issue of language. I've said that language could be another obstacle, but that should not be a problem. Confidence in the local public relation association also matters. Immediately, anywhere you get to as a PR practitioner, identify with the public relation body in that country. And anytime you need their service, you can get in touch with them. They really be of help. So that also the area of culture, language could be an obstacle. But if you really live very well with the local public relation practitioner, that will remove the obstacles. So have I answered?
I think so. John or Nick had another question here. He said, has the COVID-19 pandemic been more of an obstacle in Africa due to the lack of internet in some areas or due to poverty?
That's a big question. Well, as you know, Africa is not like the Western world. Africa still rely on the Western world. Well, I would say because of poverty. Like when the COVID-19 is on, like in Nigeria, you had of palliative, more of paper, or more of what they say, but many did not see the palliative. So it's just survival of the fittest. So poverty is one of the things affecting Africa, and this also have effect on the COVID-19. But the issue simply is this: how did COVID-19 started in Nigeria? It started mostly from people coming from overseas. So mostly the first set of people affected by COVID-19 were the rich, so to say. So the poor were not initially affected by it, but as the thing was moving, it started affecting the poor. So what I'm saying, I said that poverty affects more in the short of COVID-19 than the other factor. I've answered his question.
Okay, he nods that yes, and he gives us the thumbs up. So let's move to John Hines, who's also here present. Can I ask your question, John? Unmute yourself.
There, okay, I was trying to unmute myself. I wouldn't unmute it first. Yes, go ahead, ask away.
Okay, so John says...
oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted to ask if you wanted to ask me a question, or do you want me to just briefly phrase my question?
Yes, phrase your question.
First, I want to say, Mr. Odedele, I really love the way you speak. It is so nice to hear you talk. It's very, very different. I like that a lot. Okay, so I'm going to say just really briefly, without oh gosh, this thing, without going into a lot of detail, talked about HIV/AIDS in your paper to the class. You had a 29-page speech that you wrote out. It was sort of summarized out of your bigger thing, like a 200-page document, but. Basically, could you talk very briefly about the public relations effort in Africa to combat AIDS would be my first question.
Thank you very much. Just as you said, there are a lot of things that have been done in the area of HIV/AIDS. And public relations have been used in the area of public relations campaign, talking both at the urban and rural area, jingles, messages on the television, on the radio, on the print media, and also going to the school level, both primary, secondary, and colleges, to talk about AIDS, to educate the masses. The kind of population, different population campaign have been done on AIDS to tell us how to handle AIDS, how to avoid AIDS, and solution to AIDS. Say, for instance, I happen to know an AIDS patient like that. When she told me she had AIDS, I told her not to be worried. That shouldn't be a problem. That what she needs to do is to take the medication, and which she did. So what I'm saying, I said that PR have been used in getting across, educating, informing HIV is patience, and to people who are not HIV is positive, so that to avoid contacting HIV/AIDS. And that's one of the things that have curbed or reduced the spread of HIV/AIDS in Nigeria. So I can tell you very well that when HIV was more pronounced, a lot of population jingles were used in television, on the radio, in the print media, to really talk to the masses to make sure they avoid HIV/AIDS. Have I answered your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, John, did you have another question?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Am I muted? I don't even know. I guess I'm not. Okay. Okay. Was more? I'm just getting this down. Okay. I'm just writing down the very last of the last question. Then. Okay. Okay. You know, you also wrote about in your papers about the revolutions and the warring, which I've also read about in the years in the news. And so, how has PR played a role in trying to promote harmony and peace and get people to get along better with each other in Africa?
Oh, that's great. That's great. You know, Dr. Solomon, we talk so much on the culture, and one of the things in culture is ability to reconcile our differences. Like as he said, in Nigeria, we have about 200 languages. Just imagine, and languages being different, and now we can still relate and be together. So public relations make us to know we are we are brothers keepers. As the song you people are singing in US, I mean, the part 9 US, Black Lives Matters. Likewise, also in Africa, I mean, Nigeria, we make them to know that we are brothers keepers. We don't fight ourselves. We are the same one. Our languages may be different, but we are the same. We are the same people of the same from the same country. So we don't need to fight. So PR is being used to educate. Remember, one of the function of PR is for information, is for education, and to make the people to know that there's no need of quarreling because of our differences. That is on the television, on the radio, on the print media, on the social media, even on the telephone. All those things are done. So that's one of the means of promoting peace in Africa. Have I answered your question?
Yes. And I had a third one, but it's really brief. Because Africa, and I don't really know about much about modern Africa, but sometimes it's sort of spread out away from the cities and smaller villages. Do you find that the role of public speaking in person, you know, is important, or is that too outdated?
Public speaking is relevant, very, very important. It's part of it. I'm talking to you now. That's the kind of public speaking, don't mind me. The issue is that public speaking is very, very important. It's still very, very relevant. At times you may be called as a guest speaker in an occasion. You have to be there as public relation man, and you speak. That's a privilege or opportunity to say some salient points that could bring revolution to the nation or to the particular set of people you are addressing at that particular time. Have I answered your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you very, very much. I love the way you talk. That's so nice.
Oh, thank you very much. It's nice meeting you.
Thank you.
We had earlier another student called Brooke Crow. So let me ask her questions too. How do you see the use of digital media advancing the PR field in Africa in the next 5-10 years?
Digital media is really making wave, and we are in the era of digital. The PR practitioner must not sit on the fence. In the next 5 years, PR in Africa have been in line much advanced in the use of digital media. Take for instance South Africa. South Africa is a bit advanced in the use of It's more advanced, let me say it like that, in the use of digital media. And Nigeria also is moving on in the use of digital media. And in the next 5 years, we may not be up to what you are in the Western world there, but I know we are getting closer to you. So it is very, very important. It's part of it that a public relation man who does not know how to use digital media, who does not know how to use computer, is not even fit to practice. A public relation practitioner should be computer literate. Should know how to make use of computer to get results. Have I answered the question?
Okay. I was wondering, Nigeria is known for its own kind of Hollywood. It's called Nollywood, right?
Yes.
They produce over there. I read once an article. I don't remember, was it Time Magazine or National Geographic? There was, a team of people that were like 10 in all, and they were making a movie by themselves. So the production of movies is very, very fast. And I understand that at least for a period of time, I don't know what's the reality now, but people in that area were very big consumers of such movies. I mean, there's easy to buy a copy of a DVD, and that's how such people make such movies. And I understand there's a huge production, like thousands of movies per year, right?
Yes, that is true. And most of those movies being produced by the Nollywood, Nigeria really patronize them very well. You see in different homes, see them with what they call home video, you see them playing it. So it's so more promote. I mean, even you have let's say you have some even maybe small scale entrepreneur, even renting house videos. You see that people, let me go and rent if I can't afford. So they are really making wave and making real money in Hollywood. They are making it. And you see, most of them have become so popular, even in the nation, that their household name, even they use them as for modeling. They use them for adverts. Most of those Nollywood actors and actresses, so they are really making wave in Nigeria.
Right, and I understand that these people are very inventive in their solutions to, inserting different sounds, different video effects in their movies. Is it true?
Yes, one thing the Western world, that we come to you people, we come to your school, we learn from you, and we come back home and do what we learn. So you can see differences in some of the things we are doing. If they may not be as you are doing over there, but we are trying to get there little by little. So have I answered the question?
Yeah, I think so. There's a last question from Brooke Crow. You mentioned the lack of PR books in Africa. Since writing public relations and communication management in Africa, have you seen an increase in PR educational materials?
Yes. Books, they are writing books. But like I write in your syllabus, and I love that. The beauty of PR, a PR man should be able to painstaking to do proper editing, and a PR man or let me say PR practitioner should be a person who is vast in research, not lazy, not just gathering materials anyhow, piling it up. It could take years going through, doing correction, reading very well, correcting, editing, but that is what most of us lack. And you know what it takes you over there in the US to write, and when it gets to market, so you handle it, this is a book. So these are some of the qualities we have. Some believe in writing, anyhow, push it to the market, but the pain of going through thorough research is not really there. So and we have writers, they are writing, but it's not as maybe somebody can just put out something, maybe 50, 100 pages and say, this is a book. I'm done with it. And unlike what we have to over there. So that we have writers who are writing, but not as we have there. But the real good material, the pain of sitting down and doing research and writing very well, men are not demonstrating it. And that's the beauty of writing. And that a writer should be a person who's able to do thorough research. A writer should be a person who's able to sit down, go through what he or she writes painstakingly, and make sure he dot his I, cross his T, and make everything very well. So that's one of the things we like in our writing in the nation, or maybe let me say in Africa. So that's why we are not producing books as it ought to be, as you people do over there. Have I answered the question?
I think so. I think so. Okay, thank you very much for your time. I was wondering if you have any question for us or for the students in my class.
The question I want to ask them that how many of them love to work in Africa? And what I would tell them not to fear. As you asked, LMI is not in Nigeria. We want LMI to come in. CASCOM is not there. We want them to come in. Not only that one, not only PR agency now. Their organization, the World Shell, Chevron, Mobil, also about organization, they are in the US or from their own country of origin. They should not fear to work in Africa. The culture as they see may not be like that. They all follow all these things. We have deliberated about. They will not have problem. They will enjoy Africa. They will even love to say, oh, I would love to stay in Africa all the days of my life. Africa is beautiful. Africa is friendly. And one thing I want to tell you there, let me just tell you this. When an African see a white man or a white woman, they love to see them. I remember when I was still very small, when we see white people coming, we will shout and I'll be running after them. We will sing. We'll say, oh, you go pepper. If you eat pepper, you go yellow momo. Just to show that we have interest in the white people. So it's a part of the thing that when you want to come to work in Africa, don't fear. Just take it upon yourself that you are going to be successful and you will really successful. Africa is growing, the economy is growing. After COVID-19, I believe things will change. And you are welcome. If you are to work in Africa, I welcome you to come to Africa. So that is what I have to say.
Yes, yes. Okay, so now we know somebody in Nigeria, so we'll come to you with any reference if we need to make a trip, right?
Yeah, you are most welcome.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. I hope that we will keep in touch. If you are interested, I can make this later after I transform this from Zoom. I can make the link available for you and I will put it on my YouTube channel so you can watch it.
I will appreciate that because my friend who was one of my friends who was the former president of UPERA, that's Anne-Marie Cotton, asked for it. I said I would tell her later because I mean when I finish now, I will tell her I've done it, that I'm expecting Dr. Sori to give me the link so that I'll give it to her. She's the one in charge of mapping. That's Anne-Marie Cotton in Belgium. So she will be expecting me. I will also give her feedback.
I have been a member.
So I'm so much happy.
I have been a member of UPERA.
So I'm so much happy. Oh, yeah, that's lovely. That's lovely. So I'm so more happy for the privilege given to me by Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, United States of America. I'm so much happy for the privilege given to me by Dr. Sorin Natasha, and I'm so much happy for the privilege given to me by Public Relations Student Society of America, University of Southern Illinois University, endorsed by United States of America, for speaking to the master's class in public relations. I'm so very happy. Thank you for this great privilege.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.